It's pretty much an open secret at this point that Samsung plans to launch its Galaxy S23 lineup in early 2023. Not only will it be the company's first in-person launch since the start of the global shutdown, but it'll be an exciting chance to see how one of the biggest Android flagships makes the most of the recently announced Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Today, we're going to talk about the Galaxy S23 features that we might not know so much about yet, but we'll also tap into the series and how it's changed over the years, where it seems to be heading, and a few of the hopes and dreams that we have for the Galaxy S23. So, with that said, let's just get into it. Recently, Samsung seems to have made really positive strides in developing phones that hit a strong note with consumers. They followed up their wins with consistency, and Samsung is stuck with specific design language through the S21 and the S22 series. When the Note series was killed off, it took them a generation, but Samsung listened to their community and finally came to the table with an S22 Ultra that filled the void of the Note series, including the integration of the S Pen. What made Samsung think that not including the S Pen in the S21 Ultra was a good thing? But I digress. The point is, they've listened and they've learned, and I think that bodes really well for the upcoming S23. As far as the design, we would love to see the S23 follow up the S22 lineup by setting itself apart. I think that I've said this in a few videos in the past, but I would love to see the Ultra come out without a curved display. We have a brand new edgy Snapdragon chip going into this thing, and so why not make the phone edgy too? Obviously, whatever the phone ends up looking like, I'd love to see them change up the camera array on the back. And since we're talking about hopes and dreams, looking back to the final Note series and the dual size options that they had for the Note, would it be too much to ask if Samsung could bring that back in some way? Now, moving along to cameras, that's one area that we can almost definitely expect to see an upgrade. Samsung has not updated the Ultra's 108 megapixel main camera in 2 generations now. And with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 supporting up to 200 megapixels for the single shot main camera operation, it's not a stretch to say that the S23 Ultra should at least come close to that with the main. Outside of the massive main camera, we would love to see Samsung seriously upgrade their supportive rear cameras. The S22 Ultra features nearly the same camera array as the S21 Ultra with a 10 megapixel periscope, 10 megapixel telephoto, and 12 megapixel ultra wide. So it's time to update these cameras, and if they do, well, we may see a massive upgrade for the standard Galaxy S series phones as well, which is just a win for everybody. Now, getting into processing power, if you want to know all about the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, my coworker Ryan Haynes has summed it up nicely with all of the details, link in the description below. But as a TLDR, this generation of chipset could be the closest competitor to the Apple A16 Bionic in terms of raw horsepower. And when it comes to Snapdragon, we do know that there will be a substantial performance boost, with a reported 35% performance improvement over the previous generation, thanks in part to the powerhouse ARM Cortex-X3, which rounds out the CPU clusters. But Qualcomm is committed to giving gaming developers a mainstream platform as well for building out substantially better graphics. Not that Samsung is any stranger to gaming, as they're already way out ahead of the pack with the S22 featuring ray tracing, but it's nice to know that it'll be supported going forward. What does that mean, without getting too technical? Well, developers can leverage ray tracing to build softer shadows, reflections, and global illumination right into games. We could start seeing games that include this level of graphics starting in the first half of 2023. And we all know that graphics are battery intensive. And as for the battery, I would love to see the S22 Ultra's 5,000 milliamp hour battery make its way down to at least the S23 Plus, where the S22 Plus had a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. An extra 500 milliamp hours I don't think is asking too much. And possibly, we could see an even larger battery make its way into the S23 Ultra after staying firm at 5,000 milliamp hours inside of both the S21 Ultra and the S22 Ultra models. At this point though, either give me bigger battery and better battery life than the S22 Ultra had, or give me a smaller Ultra phone that can compete with the likes of the iPhone 14 Pro and other Pro model phones. I'll take either one of those options. So just to round it all up, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 has some really impressive upgrades over the previous generation. And it'll be really interesting to see how Samsung implements all of this new technology. But it begs the question, what are you hoping to see from the S23 series? Will you go for the base model, or are you thinking about springing for the more expensive fully loaded Ultra? Let us know your best guesses in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our full coverage of Samsung's Unpacked 2023. But until then guys, I'm Ryan with Authority Media, be kind, and we'll see you in the next one.